Welcome. My name is Cassandra McCauley, and I am the Chief Research Officer at CRAN. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Tonight, we bring to you the second of our Empowered Patient Education webinar series in honor of Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Tonight's webinar will be moderated by Trisha Banerjee. Trisha started out with CRAN as a student intern, and really we just didn't want to let her go. So following Trisha's internship, she joined CRAN as the Education and Communications Coordinator. She plays a vital role in getting CRAN's messages out there to the general public and ensuring that our patient education materials are informative and easy to comprehend. Trisha, I'll pass it over to you to moderate tonight's session.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cassandra, for that introduction. Let me just get my slides up. All right. So hello, everyone, and welcome to CRAN's second session of our Empowered webinar, which is a patient education webinar series in honor of Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. And we are so thrilled to have you all here with us today. And we thank you for joining us. And before we get started with the meat and potatoes of today's session, I just want to take a moment to introduce CRAN for the benefit of some of our newer members. So the Colorectal Cancer Resource and Action Network, more affectionately known as CRAN, began as a grassroots group, colorectal cancer information and support group all the way back in 2006, just a few months after the passing of our founder's father. Today, CRAN has proudly grown into a national, not-for-profit, patient-focused organization. We are governed by an experienced board of directors and counseled by an expert medical and scientific advisory board. We're also proud to have 2 patient advisory councils whose perspectives and lived experience with the disease inform and guide our program development, just to ensure that our programming and services remain relevant and meaningful to our patient and caregiver population. As for our mandate, CRAN champions the health and well-being of Canadians touched by colorectal cancer and others at risk of developing the disease by providing support, education, advocacy, or C of services to patients and their caregivers to help improve patients' quality of life as well as their longevity. And CRAN has expanded its patient-focused mandate to serve multiple tumor type patients through all of our programming, such as patient evidence submissions, educational events, advocacy initiatives, and recently our patient programming to ultimately reduce the burden of cancer in Canadians. And since we have you all here today, we just wanted to take a moment to encourage you all to register for Bum Run, a 5K walk/run event that's taking place in 4 cities across Canada as well as virtually. This fun-filled event is also a critical annual fundraiser for CRAN, which spreads some much-needed awareness about colorectal cancer and the importance of screening. In the event that you're unable to attend, you are still able to fundraise or donate, and we really encourage it because the funds raised will go towards supporting CRAN's life-changing patient programs, and we'd be so grateful for your support and participation. And since I am part of the comms team, I had to do a little plug. We did send out an email for March Awareness Month with this colontastic virtual background that you'll see me and Cassandra sporting. And also just wanted to highlight our Share and Make Aware campaign that's currently live on social media with some easily shareable symptoms of colorectal cancer, just to get the word out there and break down some of that stigma around the disease. And just a few quick reminders for today's webinar is to kindly keep your mic muted, and questions can be submitted via the Q&A or the chat function. And you can also raise your hand at the end to ask a question. We will take questions at the end after Felicia's finished with her presentation. And also just to note that today's session is being recorded. All right, and now on to today's session, which is titled Debunking Common Nutritional Myths for Cancer Patients. And this will be presented by none other than Felicia Newell, who is CRAN's national registered dietitian. She has a Bachelor and Master's of Science in Applied Human Nutrition and has worked in areas such as research, education, healthcare, and private practice for 14 years. She has an immense passion for providing help and guidance to all patients, but especially those fighting colorectal cancer. Felicia assesses patients for their nutritional needs and provides evidence-informed nutrition recommendations and support to help optimize their body's ability to fight cancer and tolerate treatments. She also oversees the expansion of CRAN's My Foods for Life program, which some of you may have used, in addition to the development of a primary and secondary cancer prevention program. So today's session will focus on separating fact from myth when it comes to nutrition for cancer patients, which is an area that has so much misinformation out there. She'll address some common misconceptions, provide some evidence-based nutritional guidance, and offer some practical tips that can support your health and well-being through treatment and recovery. And with that, I'll pass it over to Felicia.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Trisha. And I'm just going to take a moment to share my screen. So bear with me here. Okay, and share. Okay. So just bear with me while I get everything ready. And Cassandra and Tricia can just let me know if at any time my slides don't progress or, if anything is, or we're having issues, but hopefully everybody can see the presentation there. And again, my name's Felicia Newell, CRAN's National Registered Dietitian. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining today. We're going to talk about some of the common or the most common nutrition myths that cancer patients encounter. And my goal is to provide you with evidence-based guidance so that you can feel empowered making informed dietary choices. Okay, so next slide. Doesn't look like it's loading for you. Cassandra, can you see the next slide?
It's not advancing, Felicia.
Okay, hold on. It looks like it's just my outline that's not working. Can you see this one?
No.
Okay. Shoot. That's unfortunate. Let me just try. Apologies, everybody. I'm just going to try this process again and be as quick as possible to see if that helps. Okay. And okay, so let me just try one more time, trying to go quickly.
Yeah, not a problem.
Share. Okay, I'm going to share and okay, so let me try that one more time. And I'm still getting an error. Are you seeing it progress?
No, I'm
Okay.
not. Sorry, bear
So,
with us, everyone. Oh, there we go. Maybe it was just delayed. While we're
okay.
on slide 3.
Okay. And then, so when I do this, do you see the outline?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can see your slides now.
Okay, excellent. So I think what I'm going to have to do is just this then. Okay, and you can still see everything okay right now?
We're on slide 2, the outline,
Okay,
yes.
perfect. Crisis averted. Sorry about that,
Thank you.
everybody. So before we dive in, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what we'll be covering. First, we'll start by debunking some of the most common nutrition myths surrounding cancer, things like sugar, soy, red meat, organic foods. And as Trisha mentioned, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and we'll try to separate truth from fiction using the best scientific evidence. Next, we'll go over general nutrition guidelines to help you feel your best during and after treatment. While there's no one size fits all diet, we'll talk about practical strategies that can support your health. And then we'll discuss the importance of having a healthy relationship with food. Food fears and anxiety can sometimes be more harmful than any food itself. So we'll explore how to take a balanced approach and a balanced and stress-free approach to eating. Finally, we'll wrap up with a Q&A session where I'd love to hear your questions, so feel free to jot them down as we go along, and we'll make sure to address as many as we can at the end. So let's get started. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing the next slide there. First off, this is one of the most common nutrition myths surrounding cancer. People often hear that sugar feeds cancer, so they assume that cutting it out completely will, stop tumor growth. While it's true that cancer cells consume glucose, which our body gets from breaking down sugar and carbohydrates, so do all of the body's healthy cells. They all need glucose. And eliminating sugar entirely isn't necessary and can even be harmful if it leads to extreme dietary restrictions, which can not only lead to disordered eating, but also nutrient deficiencies as well. Additionally, our bodies will make new glucose when there isn't enough from food in the diet using a process that we call gluconeogenesis. The body uses things like amino acids from protein and fat byproducts to create this new glucose. So instead of cutting out sugar completely, focus on where it's coming from. Natural sugars and fruits, vegetables, and whole grains provide essential nutrients and fiber. So the real concern is from added sugars from ultra processed foods, which can contribute to inflammation when consumed in excess, which excess is the key word there. So, a balanced diet rather than extreme restrictions is the best approach for supporting your health during and after cancer treatment. And we'll talk more about what that looks like near the end. Next, there's a lot of fear around red meat and cancer. The key takeaway here is moderation. Eating small amounts of unprocessed red meat, like beef or lamb, isn't a major concern. However, research does show that processed meats like bacon, hot dogs, sausage, deli meats, they can increase the risk of colorectal cancer. And if you do eat red meat, you want to aim for lean cuts and keep portions reasonable, about 3 to 6 ounces per serving, a few times a week. And pairing red meat with vegetables and fiber rich foods can also help to reduce risk. So, if you want to cut back on red meat, that's of course perfectly fine too. And plant based proteins such as beans, lentils, and tofu are great alternatives, or even just really nutritious to add to your meals. You get lots of health benefits even if you're just adding them with your meals and with your meats. Next, soy is one of the most misunderstood foods when it comes to cancer. Many people believe that soy acts like estrogen in the body and can promote cancer growth. That's the misinformation piece, especially for hormone sensitive cancers like breast cancer. However, research shows that moderate consumption of whole soy foods such as tofu, tempeh, and edamame is safe and may even have protective effects. Soy contains plant compounds called phytoestrogens, which act differently than human estrogen. And in many studies, regular soy consumption is linked to a lower risk of certain cancers. That being said, soy-based supplements, like concentrated soy protein powders, should be used with caution as they do have a higher amount of these compounds, and there is less research behind them when it comes to cancer. So stick to whole soy foods, and then if you have any concerns, of course, always speak with your healthcare provider. Okay, and next, it's common for people undergoing cancer treatment to look for supplements to boost their health, but we know that relying on supplements isn't actually the best approach. Whole foods contain a combination of nutrients, fiber, antioxidants, so many different compounds that work together in ways that supplements can't fully replicate. Some supplements, such as high dose antioxidants, may even interfere with cancer treatment, such as chemotherapy and radiation. And that's why it's important to talk to your healthcare team before taking any new supplements or vitamins. If you are struggling to get enough nutrients from food alone, foods that have added nutrients or oral nutrition supplements, which are like such as Boost or Onshore, for example, these are different than when we're talking about supplements in like pill or IV form. These actually can be helpful as they are an easy source of calories, protein, and other nutrients, especially when people are struggling with poor appetite, nausea, things like that. Next, we have organic foods. There is a common belief that only organic foods are safe for cancer patients, but the reality is that eating a variety of fruits and vegetables, whether they are organic or not, is what truly matters from a health perspective. The benefits of consuming more produce far outweigh any potential risks from pesticide exposure. And there's a lot of good information at this website, safefruitsandveggies.com, on the evidence behind, pesticides and that conventional produce is safe. And some studies do support benefits from eating organic foods. However, it's important to look at the nuances. Many people who report eating organic foods are more likely to engage in other healthy lifestyle behaviors, such as exercising or not smoking, which would, of course, also lower their cancer risk. And we know that correlation doesn't equal causation. You can have studies that show, a correlation with having an any belly button and liking Nicolas Cage movies. That's an actual example of somebody who did like one of the studies and correlated a graph. And those things, of course, have nothing to do with each other, right? So sometimes we just, you know, research is one piece of the puzzle, but we have to look at the largest body of evidence um, in order to inform our recommendations. If you're concerned about pesticides, washing your fruits and vegetables can help remove residues, like a significant amount. And if you do want to prioritize organic but are on a budget, focus on foods with thin skins, like berries or leafy greens, where pesticide residues are more likely to remain. You know, a banana with a thick skin where you're peeling it and, the pesticides are not likely to reach the inner portion of the banana that you're actually eating. So, you can just maybe focus on those ones if you do have concerns. Um, but overall, don't stress too much. Eating enough fruits and vegetables in any form is the goal here. They're rich in nutrients and antioxidants that are vital to prevent cancer and as well as support your immune system during cancer treatment and recovery. And most people do not get enough. We know this. So eat your fruits and veggies in whatever form they come. Of course, barbecue season is coming, and for many people, they even enjoy having it all year round. Also, many people worry that grilling or barbecuing meat automatically causes cancer or can cause harm if you're going through cancer treatment because of compounds like polycyclic aromatic carbons or PAHs and heterocyclic amines or HCAs. While it's true that these compounds can form when meat is cooked at very high temperatures or over an open flame, whenever that kind of black char is produced, there are ways to reduce the risks with these. So, marinating meat with ingredients like lemon, vinegar, or herbs with vitamin E can help lower the formation of harmful compounds. Cooking meat in foil or pre cooking it in the oven before finishing on the grill can also minimize direct exposure to the flames and some of the development of these compounds. Plus, eating cooked meats alongside plenty of vegetables adds protective antioxidants that can also help counteract any potential risks. So, while we don't want to overdo it with charred meats and meat in general, there is no need to avoid grilling altogether. It's all about balance and then smart cooking techniques and, eating lots of fruits and veggies to kind of help counteract that. Um, sorry. Okay, next slide. Alcohol is sometimes overlooked when it comes to cancer risk, but we are starting to talk about it more. And it's even made me pause and try to reduce my own intake because I do love wine and, beer in the summer, those types of things. But it's caused me to also reflect on that. Um, Research consistently shows that drinking, even in, moderate amounts, can increase the risk of certain cancers, including breast and colorectal cancer. Limiting alcohol intake can also help reduce inflammation, support your immune system, and lower the chance of recurrence. So, if you do choose to drink, just try to reduce it as much as possible. But overall, try to stay hydrated with beverages like water, herbal teas, milk, even juice is fine in moderation and going to be the better option for your health. Lots of new and different mocktail recipes out there. So again, it's a common belief that cancer is always caused by lifestyle choices. This can cause a lot of shame sometimes for cancer patients. I've worked with a lot of patients, and even sometimes they get outside comments and remarks about, what they might have done. So things like diet, smoking, or stress. But this is really, it's not entirely true. Yes, lifestyle can play a role in cancer risk, but cancer is incredibly complex. It develops due to a mix of different factors such as genetics, environmental exposures, and even just random cellular mutations. We know that some people who eat well, exercise regularly, and avoid known risk factors can still develop cancer, while others with unhealthy habits may never get it. So, this is why it's important to focus on what we can control, avoiding smoking, limiting alcohol intake, eating a balanced diet, and staying active. Um, but we also need to recognize that many factors are completely out of our hands, like family history, height, and random genetic mutations. And, there's other examples like that. It's also really important to be careful of misinformation online, as Trisha mentioned. If you see claims that a certain food is toxic or guaranteed to cause cancer, or affect your, cancer treatment in a negative way, be skeptical. For one, anything can be toxic in a large enough dose, including vitamin A and water, both which are absolutely essential. So this brings me to the next slide, just to talk a little bit more about misinformation online. So, of course, as I'm sure we're all aware, in today's digital world, it's very easy to come across nutrition advice. It's everywhere: social media, blogs, influencers, on social platforms, and even well meaning friends and family. We're constantly getting information from so many different places. The problem is that a lot of this information is either misleading, oversimplified, or even sometimes, unfortunately, just completely false. So when evaluating, nutrition information or really any information that you're getting online, consider the source. For nutrition, a registered dietitian is the best, qualified expert to give nutrition advice. Nutritionist is not really a protected. In some provinces, it's a protected term. So a nutritionist has to be a dietitian, but that's not in all provinces. Sometimes anybody could call them a nutritionist call themselves a nutritionist without really needing any education or background. So just be careful of that. So is the advice coming from a registered dietitian, a scientific study? And even in that case, there's different types of studies. There's smaller studies. There's studies done on mice or in vitro, which we can't really use to make solid information, but it can just be the beginning stages of research. There's, studies that look at people over time and where they fill out, questionnaires and surveys. And sometimes, again, those are helpful for showing patterns, but correlation doesn't always equal causation. And then there's really good high quality studies, such as randomized control trials, systematic reviews, meta-analyses. But again, even those aren't perfect. So we usually look at the largest body of evidence. Um, when we're looking at studies and things like that, and, is the message coming from a reputable health organization such as CRAN, Health Canada? So be extremely cautious of the claims, especially like this food cures cancer or causes cancer, or you must completely avoid this food if you're undergoing a cancer treatment. Nutrition is never really that black and white. There's often nuances, and we'll talk about that more too. Many of these claims made by whoever, whether it's a blog, journal article, whatever, a media article, news article, many of these claims are designed to increase engagement, get clicks, sell products, or push an agenda rather than provide sound science. So when in doubt, always check reputable sources to kind of confirm things such as, CRAN, Canadian Institutes of Health Research, American Institute of Health Research, Health Canada, Canadian Cancer Society. There's lots of organizations out there that they make it their mission to put out high quality evidence-based information. And everybody's needs are different. So getting personalized advice from a professional is kind of the best way to support your health. So I don't think the sound is going to work because when I first shared my screen, I clicked on or tried to click on share sound and it was grayed out. So I don't think that I'm going to be able to show this video. But that's okay. I'll just talk about it. If anybody's been to one of my presentations before, you know that I love Dr. Ids. He's on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So he puts out a lot of really great, high quality, easy to understand videos that kind of combat nutrition misinformation. Um, and sometimes there's even doctors that share things, and unfortunately, doctors do not get a lot of education in nutrition. I mean, it's not their area of expertise. Some do go above and beyond. This doctor does have a master in nutrition research, so obviously he is educated and an expert in this area. A lot of doctors recognize that they aren't experts in nutrition, so then they will refer to a dietitian or and other health professionals, which is how it should be. But unfortunately, we know some doctors, and not just doctors. I'm only making that comparison because I'm, referring to a doctor right now. There are lots of people who are not doctors that share misinformation as well. But just, keep that in mind. But he's a great page to follow for kind of debunking misinformation. So I know we already talked about how sugar feeds cancer and that was myth, but this video is really good. And it is an example of the information that people are absorbing, right? Like these videos tend to get a lot of engagement, likes, comments, and it can really shape people's beliefs around nutrition, which is unfortunate. So, again, the truth is that all cells require glucose to function. Not getting enough total energy, like from your diet, which we get energy from calories and food, can lead to cachexia, which has been proven to negatively affect treatment outcomes for cancer patients. So the misinformation is actually dangerous and can have harmful impacts. So what he's saying in the video, um, is that cancer patients shouldn't be given onshore because it has, sugar and carbohydrates, and basically, again, is spreading that misinformation. And for some people, those types of drinks are really the only thing that they can stomach, right? When they're going through cancer treatment, when their appetite is impacted, when they're experiencing nausea, vomiting, and it really helps them get these essential nutrients that they need to help avoid malnutrition and cachexia, which again have negative impacts for treatment outcomes. So, in a lot of cases, especially with cancer, misinformation is actually dangerous and can have harmful impacts. So, it's really important to just think critically when you're getting misinformation, or sorry, when you're getting information from, outside sources. Um, so this is another example. It's not misinformation per se, but more context is needed. So the gentleman at the beginning of the video, kind of said like, can beef increase risk for colon cancer? And which again is not really misinformation, but the way he says it, he doesn't really say like how you can maybe mitigate that risk and that there's more context that's needed. So then Dr. Ids just comes in and then he said, red meat and processed meats can increase risk. However, eating lots of vegetables can lessen that risk. And again, some factors for cancer risk are outside of our control. So the overall diet and lifestyle matters most. Can people just, limit meat or avoid meat altogether if they want? Absolutely. You can have a plant-based diet, and there's going to be many health benefits for there. But when it comes to our diet and lifestyle patterns, there's lots of different factors that affect why we eat and what we eat and how we eat. And for some people, eliminating meat completely isn't realistic. So that's why we come up with these guidelines to kind of help people make the best decisions and most informed decisions so they can be empowered. Um, so we know that fear around food does more harm than good, and that's why I feel like it's so important to talk about, especially when it comes to cancer, because you already have enough stress and fear and those types of things. So it's completely understandable to want to make the best dietary choices that you can when you're facing cancer. Um, but food fears can actually add stress, which again may do more harm than any single food itself. No one food will cure cancer, and no one food will cause it either, which is what really matters is the big picture, your overall diet, lifestyle, mental well being, all those things. Instead of fearing food, aim for balance. If you generally eat a nutrient rich diet with occasional indulgences and convenience foods, which those foods can help, with mental health, right? Sometimes we eat food for, if we're having a really busy day, you want to grab something that's convenient, that's helps support your mental health versus worrying about having to buy all the ingredients if you don't have anything planned and those types of things. So sometimes those have a purpose in our diet and our lifestyle. And again, won't have significant impacts if it's occasional. I like to kind of see it as like the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the time, our diet should hopefully provide nutritious foods that give us the nutrient our body needs for health, for, cancer treatment, cancer prevention, those types of things. But, 10 to 20% of the time is wiggle room and for life and convenience and those types of things. And again, it's the dose that makes the poison. What is going to matter most from a health perspective is what we're doing, 80 to 90% of the time. And again, being too restrictive can make eating stressful, which isn't really helpful for healing. So the best approach is to nourish your body, while also giving yourself permission to enjoy food in a way that feels good. No food is completely good or completely bad. Again, it really is the overall diet and lifestyle that matters most. And a healthy relationship with food has been shown to support both physical and mental health. So that is something that is really important. So, what are the general nutrition guidelines cancer patients should follow? If you're having minimal side effects from treatment and you're feeling well, it is recommended to follow the American Institute of Cancer Research and Canadian Cancer Society dietary guidelines. The reason I say if you're feeling well is because sometimes if you're feeling unwell and experiencing symptoms such as, again, nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, sometimes in these scenarios, getting any calories is the main goal, right? Get it where you can get it, whatever you can stomach at that time. So, and that's okay, right? This is again like general guidelines if you are feeling well enough to kind of eat a well-balanced diet. So, of course, we want to get a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and high fiber foods such as whole grains and beans. Um, Ideally, we want to aim for 7 to 10 half cup servings of fruits and vegetables combined, or 1 to 2 servings with each meal and snack, however you want to frame that. Um, for fiber, women need about 25 grams a day, and men need about 35 to 40 grams. And very little people actually get enough fiber. I work with so many people that think that they get enough fiber because, they eat fruits and veggies and some whole grain breads, maybe some, whole wheat pita, whole wheat pasta. But unless you're like, you really want to look at it for a couple days and then you start to realize, okay, I'm not getting enough fiber, and adding things like beans, chickpeas, lentils, nuts, seeds like chia seeds, avocado, that will really help bump up your fiber intake to get you where you need to be. And again, men need a significant, not a significant amount, but it can be harder to get that much fiber in the diet, 35 to 40 grams. Um, so many men don't get enough. So just really take a look at what you are consuming and try to increase. Next, we want to limit consumption of fast foods or processed foods that are high in fat, starches, or sugars. These are really like lots of foods are processed, right? Like milk is processed, pasta is processed, rice is processed, and they're usually processed for a reason. These foods can absolutely be part of a healthy diet, and they are still nutritious foods. When we say ultra processed foods, we're referring to like, chips, cookies, chocolate, candy, those types of things. So most recommendations just stay to limit them. But again, that's why I like the 80-20 rule. Like ideally, we want to keep these foods within 10 to 20% of the overall diet. Next, we already discussed, so limit consumption of red meat to about 12 to 18 ounces per week. Limit the consumption of added sugar, which includes sugar sweetened beverages. So we want to aim for less than 24 grams of added sugar daily. This does not include natural sugars from fruit, dairy, starches, those types of things. Again, we talked about alcohol. We want to eliminate it completely if possible or reduce it as much as possible and include 4 to 5 servings of anti-inflammatory fats daily, such as nuts, seeds, avocado. For some people, servings might be higher because, let's just say if you're a really tall male, your calorie needs are going to be more. So then you're going to need a bit more fats in the diet. So, but again, this is just general guidelines. These are just some very basic examples of well-balanced meals and snacks, which again, overall balanced diet can not only be helpful for cancer prevention, but also for cancer treatment. The whole spectrum of nutrients work together to support our health. So again, not just one specific food or even food group. Lean proteins like chicken and tofu provide essential amino acids for tissue repair. Whole grains like whole grain bread, quinoa, brown rice offer fiber for gut health. Nutrient-dense options can provide vitamins and antioxidants without excessive added sugars, such as fruits, of course. Those are great options. Apples provide fiber and vitamin C. Nuts and almonds deliver healthy fats and protein. Cruciferous vegetables, such as broccoli, contain compounds that may support detoxification and reduce inflammation. Carrots and other colorful veggies are full of beta carotene and antioxidants that promote overall health and may support the body during cancer treatment and immune support, those types of things. So, again, that's why we want to include a variety of different fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats in the diet. Um, and these are just, again, a few examples on the slide here of well-balanced meals. There are so many options, grilled chicken with quinoa and steamed broccoli, salmon sweet potato with mixed green salad, vegetable stir fry with tofu and brown rice, a couple different snack options here. But of course, there are many examples of well-balanced meals, and I will share my email at the end of the presentation. I do have some sample meal guides and recipe ebooks. So if you'd like some inspiration, then don't hesitate to reach out and I can send those along. So of course we want to add flavor to those types of things, and adding flavor doesn't mean that we need to rely on salt. Ingredients like lemon, garlic, fresh herbs can help elevate the taste while also contributing to health benefits. So, again, these are just some examples. Lemon is packed with vitamin C, which can help support the immune system and aid digestion. Who else measures enough garlic that you could fend off a vampire if they actually existed? Like I'm always heart measuring my garlic and it's a lot. Or is that just me? I don't know, maybe. Luckily, it's known for its anti-inflammatory properties, which can help reduce cancer risk, support heart health, all those good things. Rosemary also has antioxidants that can combat inflammation, promote brain health. Oregano is packed with antioxidants and which can protect against oxidative stress and also support the digestive system. And turmeric also has antioxidant properties, which has shown potential in cancer prevention and just enhancing overall health, reducing inflammation. While small amounts of turmeric as a spice, if you're just adding it to your food, are generally safe. But again, as we've discussed before, taking turmeric in supplements in high doses may cause side effects such as digestive issues or interfere with certain treatments. So it's important to, again, like you can get it through food, that's okay. You don't need to take a supplement. Incorporating these flavorful and nutrient-dense foods into meals can help, of course, add variety and flavor, but also help support overall health. So again, the general nutrition guidelines for cancer patients in some ways are similar to those intended to promote cancer prevention and just overall wellness in the population. However, or sorry, so overall, we want to include healthy sources of protein, fiber, containing carbohydrates, healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, all those things. One difference is, though, a main goal for any patient should be to avoid significant weight loss. This is really important because some people come to me and that's still kind of a goal in their mind as they're going through treatment. Um, but this is, again, not the best approach. This may impact or even delay treatment, and even small amounts of weight loss, such as 5% of your total body weight, may increase your risk of experiencing treatment related side effects, or again, may affect outcomes. So instead, make sure you're consuming enough calories, protein, and nutrients in general to support your immune system and to help provide you the energy that you need to feel your best and to fight your cancer. Due to the many factors that can influence your nutrition needs during and after treatment, there's so many different things, whether you have ostomy, whether you have, diabetes, celiac, all kinds of different things. So this is why it becomes important to work with your dietitian to perform a nutrition assessment, provide specific recommendations that are tailored to you, and they might be able to provide meal guides, recipe ideas, anything like that based on your own unique needs. Um, it's also important that somebody from your care team monitors your weight and nutritional status throughout your treatment and is available to answer your treatments. So, your cancer team may already and should hopefully, but I know there's some cases that they don't include a dietitian. um, they would be your best resource because obviously they know your whole history and can communicate with the rest of your healthcare team. But I'm also here as well as CRAN's registered dietitian. So please reach out if you need support. And as I know, some people don't have access to a dietitian, and even if you do, two is better than one. So that's what I'm here for. So here are some references that you can get more information about what we discussed today. My email address is on one of the next slides. So if you'd like a PDF copy of the presentation so that you can more easily access these, again, please do not hesitate to reach out. Or if you wanted, meal guides, recipe ebooks, if you have any questions, um, then don't hesitate to reach out. And then there's another slide here for references. And I just wanted to first thank you all so much for joining today. I really appreciate the time you took in attending this session. I hope that this presentation has helped you feel more confident and empowered in making informed dietary choices. I know nutrition can feel overwhelming, especially with all the conflicting information out there. But my goal was to provide you with, some science-based guidance that supports both your health and well-being and can help you make those informed decisions.